a strong portion of modern-day hentai can be described as sinisterly dark and grotesque, it really began with a select few titles. Though the first hentai to be published in an OVA format was the first episode of the Lolita series in 1984, directed by Kunito Niro, who I'm surprised to say is a complete fucking ghost. There's absolutely no information I could uncover about this guy, so that makes Lolita his only known credit. And it's true that some pretty savage shit happens in that series, but it's pretty tame by most standards. The production had strict codes of censorship they had to work around, so it pretty much was just a test of the waters. But the real beginnings of the truly twisted hentai came from works like Angel of Darkness, Uchtrokaji, Wicked City, Violence Jack, and today's anime of choice, Kite. Released in 1998, it's of the latter half of the first generation of hentai, the second generation beginning roughly in 2000, led by titles like Crimson Climax, Dark Love, and Bible Black. Yes, I realize I know far more about this shit than I really should, but you know what? Fuck you. Let's get to the review. As opposed to a lot of the works I just mentioned, Kite, I feel, gets way too much flack for its worth. Surprisingly decently animated by Green Bunny, who disappeared in 2006 under mysterious circumstances, is the brainchild of one Yasuomi Umetsu. Umetsu had animated for Outlanders, Mobile Suit Theta Gundam, Akira, and had directed a segment of the criminally overlooked Robot Carnival. He and his film had been criticized heavily for its depictions of violence and sex, but to be honest, it really isn't nearly half as bad as all the hype. The OVA focuses on the main character Sawa as she hunts for criminals as an armed vigilante for her deceased father's old partner Akai. Now, with many of the factory-produced hentai of today, you'd expect the fucking to have no setup and no place in the story. Well, that's where we're both wrong. In truth, the sex scenes are established in reason to why they happen, and they have consequences for each of the involved characters involved in the overall story. Now, you heard me gripe about Final Flesh not having sex. I gotta figure out what I drank that night. So some weird shit. Anyways, you just figured that I would want to see the fucking, because, as the great Tinto Brass put it, pornography is there to give you an erection. This isn't the main point with Kite. Fucking isn't the main focus of the story, including having the love interest between Sawa and the other younger character Oburi be totally sexless. If anything, the violence is what should be more focused on, and to be honest again, it really isn't as off-putting as some people may say. Sure, it's pretty brutal, but nothing that wasn't surpassed by a fucking mile in the 90s. I think we all remember Berserk, Ninja Scroll, and Genocyber. The explosive rounds used in Kite were the real focus to the violence, using delayed explosions to jack up the gore while building tension. It really is fine thriller-based movie making, and even though I know some of you are going to shoot me to a black oblivion for saying this, it kinda reminds me of Perfect Blue. It's a very effective understanding of build-up and suspense. And I say that with a lot of consideration, considering Satoshi Kon is my favorite animation director of all time. However, this is one of those times, as you may find almost every single time you perverts download or buy one of these little fucked up little fuck films, the voice dubbing greatly changes in tone between languages. The voice acting in the Japanese dub is serious and it holds the material and the lines being spoken with a certain sense of respect. The English cast is competent at best, but Sam Leibowitz, the English production manager, was not. Thus, we have a cast of voices not sure which emotion to match to what's happening on the screen. You can feel them reaching for something to connect with what is happening in the film, but it just isn't there. And that is the common problem with redubbed animation in the first place when it comes to the US. But once in a while you get a good one. This is not the case. So, this film exists in the realms of hentai. But it's really on the outer rims, being mostly focused on the action sequences and the actual character development. So, if anything else, it really was just unlucky it got slapped as such, because it's a taut, well-animated thriller with an interesting cast and an offsetting conclusion. Very much like Perfect Blue. Now, do I think Kite is nearly as good as Perfect Blue? Not a fucking chance in hell. What? You don't believe me? Well, fine. Guess who's on deck?